how are you? I hope you all are doing well and studying well. So children, doesn't science give you an enhanced knowledge about everything? So children, now in this chapter, we are going to talk about one thing that is available in the nature. That is, we are going to talk about the land and the soil in this chapter. Alright. So, we are going to talk about the method of formation of soil. We are going to talk about different types of soil and we are going to talk about the importance of soil. Okay. Now, children, firstly, what is soil? Our earth is millions of years old. Earlier, it had only rocks and water. The sun heated the rocks, the rain and wind cooled them, and this process continued for many years. So, as a result of this process, the rocks, they started breaking down into small pieces. Okay. These pieces are carried by water and wind and break down further to form soil. Okay. So, now children, over a millions of years, okay, we have seen that in the olden times there were only rocks and there was water, and then because of the heat that came from the sun, those rocks, they started getting heated up, okay, and then the rain, the wind, it started cooling it down. So, now because of this process which continued for so many years, the rocks, they started breaking, okay, and they started breaking into small particles. Now, these particles started flowing with the water or maybe with the wind, okay, and then it changed into soil. Okay. Once they started flowing and then they came on a surface which was a normal ground surface, they settled there, that is where they started forming soil. Now, what is soil? Soil is the upper layer of the earth's surface where plants grow. Okay. It is a mixture of decayed plants and animals and broken bits of rocks and minerals. This process of breaking of rocks into smaller pieces by natural forces such as the sun's heat, wind and rain is called weathering of rocks. So, children, it is the upper layer of the earth's surface where the plants grow. So, you must have always seen that whenever you plant something, you dig the soil, you put the seeds in that and then you cover it up again with soil. Okay. So, this is where the plants grow, and then what is it? It is actually soil is nothing but a mixture, okay, of decayed plants and animals and broken bits of rocks. So, soil contains the decayed parts of the plants, decayed parts of the animals, and also it contains the rocks, okay, and the minerals. Now, this process of breaking of rocks into smaller pieces by natural forces such as sun's heat, wind and rain is called the weathering of rocks. Okay. Now, you have to do this activity. You have to collect the different types of samples of soil from the roadside, okay, from playground, a garden or a field, and then observe the color of the soil samples. What do you observe? Write your information in the form of a table. And what does the soil contain? Okay. Now, what does the soil contain? Soil contains dead remains of plants, animals, and then the float on that float on the top. Okay. So, this is called humus. This soil is made of sand, clay and stones. So, you will see that whenever the plant, suppose the leaves, okay, they dry and they fall on the ground. So, they get absorbed in the ground. Now, when the animals die, okay, some of the animals are buried, okay, when they are buried and all in the deep down in the soil, okay, their dead remains gets absorbed into the soil, okay. So, this thing is called the humus, okay, the dead remains of plants and animals that float on the top are called the dead, is called humus. Now, the soil is made of sand, there is clay and there are stones in that, alright. Now, we have to do this activity. You have to take some garden soil, okay, and put it into an empty glass. Pour some water in the glass, stir it well and leave it undisturbed for 15 minutes and observe it carefully. The stones settle at the bottom. Above stones, there are grains of sand. the clay settles down above the ground. The water above the top layer is not very clear. So, this is what you will observe, okay, when you take garden soil, put it into an empty glass, okay, then pour some water in the glass and stir it well and leave it undisturbed, okay, leave it for around 15 minutes. What will you observe? That the stones, okay, which are there, the stony part of it, it settles down at the bottom. Above the stone, okay, there are grains of sand, okay, so something, the stones goes down because they are very heavy, okay, so they go down. Above that comes the lighter part, which is the sandy part or the grainy part, okay. The clay settles down above the sand, okay. So, sand is the grainy part, stones, sand, and then comes the clay, okay, which is softer and lighter than the sand, okay. Now, the water above the top layer is not very clear. It is a mixture of all and it is not very clear, okay. So, soil contains water, okay. So, what in order to find out that the soil contains water, we need to do this activity. You have to put some soil in a container, cover it with a lid, okay. Now, ask your mother to heat this container on a low flame. After some time, open the lid. What do you observe? You observe that water droplets are there on the lid, okay. This proves soil contains moisture in it, okay. So, what is moisture in it? Moisture means the water vapor, okay, that is the moisture in it. So, whenever that container is heated, which has soil in it, the water vapor starts coming and then you see the droplets on the lid of the container, okay. Now, soil contains air. Activity, you have to take some garden soil in a bowl, okay, take a garden soil in a bowl and then pour water over it, okay. You will see water bubbles, okay. What are these bubbles? They are the air bubbles which are coming, okay. These bubbles, they show that the air is present in the soil, okay. They will come from the gap where there are the soil is little up and down, okay. Now, this air, it escapes in the form of bubbles when water is poured on them, alright. Now, let us talk about the different types of soil. Soil is of different types depending upon the amount of air and water it can hold. Depending upon the nature of this particle, soils are mainly of three types: sandy soil, clay soil and loamy soil, okay. Now, what is sandy soil? This type of soil, their particles, they are very rough, okay. It is mostly found in the desert area, okay, or near the seashore. The sand particles are big and they cannot hold much water. There is lot of air in the space between these particles. It does not contain enough nutrients to grow plants. So, in deserts and all, you must have seen that there are not many plants because of the type of soil which is there. And what is that type of soil? It is the sandy soil or the sand which is there on the desert. Now, the particles of this desert or the particles of this sand, okay, they are big and they cannot hold water. It flows, okay. So, they cannot hold water and there is lot of air space in that, okay, between the particles. There is lot of air in the space between the particles, which cannot contain enough nutrients to grow plants. Now, what is clay soil? Clay soil is smooth to touch, okay. The soil particles are small in size and they are sticky in nature. So, when they are sticky, it can hold lots of water, okay, but very little air, and it is mostly used to make toys and pots. So, it is used to make toys and pots and all because it can combine it and hold it firm, okay. Now, what is the loamy soil? This soil is a mixture of clay and sand. When clay and sand both are mixed together, it becomes loamy soil, okay. It has qualities of both the soils. It can hold both air and it can hold water. Loam has lot of humus in it, okay. Loamy soil is good for the growth of crops. So, a soil which is a combination of sandy and clay soil is known as the loamy soil, okay, which is good for the growth of crops because it has the qualities that are required for crop growth. Okay. Now, why is soil important? Plants require soil to grow. The soil holds the roots and gives support to the plant. The roots of a plant absorb nutrients from the soil. Okay, different types of crops grow in different types of soil. Some need sandy soil while some need clay soil. Others grow well in loamy soil. The plant growth can be increased by supplying manure to the soil. Manure can be made up of dead leaves, cow dung, etc. Many worms like earthworms also make the soil fertile. Okay. So, why do you need soil? Firstly, we know that plants grow well, okay, in soil, and they need soil for their growth because they get their required water, they get nutrients, minerals from the soil, which is a must for the growth of plants. Okay. At the same time, soil holds the roots firmly, okay, to the ground. Okay. The roots of a plant, they absorb nutrients from the soil. Different types of crops grow in different types of soil. So, some need sandy soil, some need clay soil, but others grow well in the loamy soil. Okay. The plant growth can be increased by supplying manure to the soil. Okay. This manure we get from the wastes, okay, the biodegradable waste which is there. Okay. It can be converted into manure. What is this waste? This waste is nothing but the waste of food, the food waste, okay, the animal waste which is there, it can be combined together and provided as a manure to the soil. Okay. Now, what is this manure? Dead leaves, cow dung, okay, these are all the manure, okay, food waste, like the peels of the fruits and vegetables and all. Okay. So, many worms, there are so many worms you will see in the soil, like the earthworm and all. Why is it called an earthworm? Because it makes the soil fertile, the earth fertile. All right. Now, let us revise this chapter. The topmost layer of the earth is the soil where the plants grow. The soil is formed by breaking of rocks. The weather helps to make soil. Soil contains sand, clay, stones and humus. Okay. Sandy, clay and loamy soils are different types of soils. Soil holds roots of the plant, the dead parts of plants and animals known as humus. This makes the soil fertile. Okay. Now, let us quickly revise this chapter now, okay, and then start doing this exercises. Okay. You have to choose the correct answer. This is beyond the layer of air around the earth. Two Indian women have travelled into space. The earth has two movements, rotation and revolution. Okay. Now, quickly test your knowledge by doing these exercises. Multiple choice questions. Take the correct option. He was the first astronomer to inform the world that the earth is round. Bhaskar, Kalpana Chawla, Aryabhat or Galileo? It was Aryabhat. It does not have its own light but reflects the light of the sun. Moon, star, constellation or Ursa Major? It is the moon. Without it, there will be no life. Moon, sun, satellite or planet? Sun. Okay. Fill in the blanks. Dash, dash and dash broke up the rocks to make soil. Okay. It is the sun, the wind and rain. Alright. Now, dash soil is smooth to touch. Which is smooth to touch? The clay soil. The soil found in deserts and seashores is sandy soil. Manure makes the soil fertile and it is good for plants. Dash soil is a mixture of clay and sand, loamy soil. Alright. So, children, now let us move on to the true and false section. Okay. Clay soil does not hold water. This is false. It holds water. Loamy soil is best for plants. Yes, because it has both the qualities of sandy as well as clay soil. Okay. The roots of plants absorb nutrients from the soil. Absolutely true. Soil is the lowermost layer of the earth. False. It is the topmost layer of the earth. Sand particles are big in size? Yes, they are bigger in size. Alright, now name the following. Upper layer of Earth's crust is soil. Soil has particles of rocks. Okay. Types of soil holds maximum water. What is it? It is the clay soil. Okay. Types of soil rough to touch, the sandy soil. Fill in the crossword puzzle with the help of clues. So children, quickly go through this chapter and start answering. The words, okay, which need to be there in this grid are in the chapter. Okay. Now next, match the column A with column B. Okay. Breaking of rocks is the weathering. Okay. Plants absorb it from soil. What do they absorb? They absorb minerals from soil. Soil with lots of air spaces is sandy soil, and formed from dead plants and animals is the humus. Alright. Now, short answer questions. What is weathering? Weathering is the breaking of rocks into smaller particles, okay, due to the effect of sun, wind and rain. Which factors are responsible for breaking of rocks? As I said, it is the sun, wind and rain. Which worm is helpful for farmers? It's the earthworm, okay, because it makes the soil fertile. Why do farmers add manure to the soil? To make the soil fertile. And what is the color of garden soil? It is brown in color. Alright. Now children, long answer questions. What are the different types of soil? And explain any one of them. So out of the three soils that we've learned here, sandy, clay and loamy soil, you can explain any one of them in detail. How is soil formed? It's formed due to the weathering of rocks. So you have to explain this in detail. Okay. Show by activity that soil contains air. We've already done this. Okay. So when you see the bubbles coming out, you can write that activity which shows that the soil contains air. And how is soil useful for crops? Okay. Now, critical thinking skills. You have learned that soil are of different colors. On what factors due to the color of the soil depends. Okay. So, on what are the factors that on which the color of the soil depends? Which colored soil is good for plants and where do you find them? So, black soil is rich in humus, which is good for plants. So, you can write about this in detail. Okay. Why sandy soil is not good for making pots and toys? Which soil is used for this purpose? Okay. The sandy soil, the particles of the sandy soil are bigger, okay, and they have lot of air in it. So, for making pots and toys, you need a soil that can hold them together, okay, and that's why we use clay soil, okay, to make pots and toys, okay. Now, case-based study. Soil formation is a very slow process. It took over hundreds of years for the process of soil formation and it is still going on. Originally, the earth was covered with thick layers of rocks. Slowly with the time, the rocks were broken into smaller pieces and then into further small particles. Clay soil is composed of very fine particles with few air spaces between them. The clay particles are very small. So, they stick together and they can hold a lot of water. It is sticky in nature. It is very smooth to touch. It is used to make toys, flower pots, idols, etc. Sandy soil is mostly seen in the deserts and on the seashore. It is composed of big sand particles that have lot of air in the space between them. It is dry and it is a light soil. Okay, it is rough to touch. It is used to make glass. Plants do not grow well in sandy soil. Loamy soil contains a mixture of clay and sand. It can hold both air as well as water. Okay. The presence of humus makes the loamy soil the best soil for growing plants. Humus makes the soil fertile. The roots of plants can easily breathe and absorb water in loamy soil. So, clay soil is good for to make glass, to make toys, growing crops, or none of these to make toys. Okay. Sandy soil is good for to make glass, make toys, growing crops, none of these to make glass. Okay. Loamy soil is good for to make glass, to make toys, growing crops, or none of these growing crops. And how do soil form? Okay, how is the soil formed? It took over 100 years hundred and thousands of years to be formed, okay. And then when the rocks, okay, slowly with with time the rocks were broken into smaller pieces and then further into smaller particles, which is then how this is how the soil was formed, okay. Now, life skills. You have to take clay soil and make a dough, okay, with mixing it with water, okay. Shape it to make your own toys. You can make different things like cups, snake, letters of alphabet, etc. Okay, now try to do this activity with the clay. Okay, let's do something new. Now, what here you have to do is that you have to take 3 funnels and 3 glasses. Put equal quantity of 3 types of soil in each funnel. Okay, so you take 3 glasses, you keep the funnel on top, and then you start pouring the soils, different type of soils in these 3 glasses. Okay, now the funnel stands over the glasses. Okay, now pour equal quantity of water in each of them and leave it undisturbed for 2 hours. Observe which beaker contains more water. So, according to the soil, you will then observe that when you put equal amount of soil, okay, different types of soil, equal amount, then you put equal amount of water and you leave it aside for almost 2 hours. And then you will come to, you will see that, okay, which type of soil holds more water, okay. Now, which type of soil holds more water, you will come to know where is the maximum water and where is the least amount of water, okay. Now, explore. Soil is necessary for the growth of plants. It is an important natural resource and takes many years to be formed. So, it is to be conserved. How can you conserve ways, okay, by which soil can be conserved? So, now you have to tell us about the different ways by which you can do soil conservation, okay. Find out how small organisms and worms increase the fertility of soil and find out more information about different layers of soil, alright. So, children, but before you explore all this information, you know what you have to do. You have to reread the chapter, okay, complete all the exercises, complete all the activities and then start doing the exploration and write about how can you conserve the soil. Alright children, get going.